It's that time again. Not spring, not election season, not having a sudden craving to play a JRPG that I seem to get every April for some reason. No, it's GameFAQs contest season. Watching games or video game characters toil to win popularity contests only to inevitably be crushed by the force of Link has been a pastime I've probably been far too invested in, having entered the predictions contest each year since 2005 and never coming anywhere close to winning. The contests these days are much smaller and less grand as GameFAQs has grown older and more antiquated in the online space. But I still have intense fondness for these things. Not only is it incredible to say everyone united together to declare that a Tetris block was the greatest character ever, and somehow a guy won actual money based off that whim. But these contests provide a really gripping portal into the past to see video game history, and the opinions of one of the largest video game-centered online communities of the early internet era, laid bare for all the world to see. For every instance of Undertale being declared the best game ever, or Draven from League of Legends beating the combined forces of Hideo Kojima and David Hayter rallying for Snake on Twitter, you get to see rivalries form organically between fandoms and characters, all decided conclusively in a 24-hour test of mettle. I think being in the midst of these opinions and seeing which fandom burned the brightest on a given day is an important thing, both to be amused by and to learn from, and see how they reflect on the present. And after checking which match in the nearly 18-year history of these contests might be the most emblematic of this, I settled on one fight from the very first contest, where two video game legends duked it out to prove supremacy, in a brawl that would feature head-to-head slugfests, a full storyline, and even a miracle coming true. But before we get started, I have to give a massive thank you to Board8 users Solar Shadow, Endgamer64, and Ultimaterializer X. Information on a contest from so long ago is very scarce, the original pages and traces of it having all been deleted, and it's only through their analyses and preservation efforts that I was able to construct this at all. So, thank you guys, sincerely. This wouldn't be here without ya. The Great GameFAQs Character Battle began on July 1st, 2002. Over the following 2 months, the main page would feature a poll between two video game characters, asking voters to pick which character they preferred. The winner would then move on in a set bracket until one character was declared the best video game character ever, with those who most closely predicted how the bracket would play out receiving a cash prize. Whilst there's nothing inherently special about this format, you don't need me to tell you that emotions can run high when something beloved is seen as less popular. With online communities being significantly smaller in 2002, and GameFAQs being, at face value, a site with equal representation given to every game franchise, winning on the character battle stage kind of justified having such a strong love for a character or a game. Something that YouTube and social media have made kinda antiquated in today's day and age, but something worth rallying behind back then. So when Terry Bogard was nearly doubled up in votes by Aya Brea, and then Aya would go on to nearly upset Donkey Kong in the next round, well, it felt great to be a Parasite Eve fan, but a lot less so for Donkey Kong and Fatal Fury fans. The character battle wasn't just a fun little sideshow, it was a grand stage to debate and whine about worthiness in a condensed space. Kinda like Super Smash Bros. Character reveals are today, but with more laughing at Gordon Freeman for being less popular than a cowboy with boobs. And at the top of all of the debate and drama was Mario. Now, Mario had gotten the top seed in his North Division and the tournament as a whole, for a reason of being freaking Mario! He was considered the odds-on favorite to win, with a majority of user-submitted brackets choosing the plumber as their predicted winner. The shadow of Mario loomed over the contest, voters looking to see just who could beat Nintendo's chosen son. This painted Mario as the villain of the contest, a great roadblock to overcome. And due to this, the plumber actually underperformed for a majority of the contest. His matches against Servbot from Mega Man Legends and Morrigan from Darkstalkers were never in question, but while he was getting pretty respectable numbers, Sephiroth was impaling Crash Bandicoot. Some punk named Crono was getting similar numbers on Dante from the hot new Devil May Cry, and Mega Man was utterly obliterating anyone in his path. If Mario was the god of the contest, God wasn't just bleeding, he was whimpering. At the other side of Mario's division was Cloud Strife. While GameFAQs did offer a multitude of guides for every game, longer form RPG guides were the site's bread and butter. Longer game means more places to get stuck, and likely more secrets to find, which means more people looking up the walkthrough. And no game was bigger during these early online years than Final Fantasy VII. While Mario was struggling with Capcom's C-listers, Cloud was facing Nintendo's B squad of Fox McCloud and Pikachu. Fueled by a general online distaste for Pokemon having basically taken over the world for the past 4 years, Strife exterminated the rodent with no remorse, and Fox hardly fared any better. While Pikachu could be excused with bias, it was hard to imagine the beloved hero of Star Fox 64 not being stronger than the Capcom crew Mario was dealing with, especially with Samus and Link impressing in their matches to show this wasn't just simple anti-Nintendo bias across the board. Mario and Cloud had one match each before their collision in round 4, and it was up to the contest's favorite to show that he still had a few tricks left in the old warp pipeline. Mario then murdered Donkey Kong in cold blood. 81%. An impressive number on anyone, but this was Donkey Kong that was being put out to pasture. The hero of Donkey Kong Country, a game that sold 9 million units on the Super Nintendo. One of the first video game characters ever, someone who'd already won 2 matches in the contest. And Mario made him look worse than a Lego reject. There was a theory proposed at the time that 2 characters closely connected would share the same fanbase, causing the stronger one to cannibalize the other's votes. And while that would later be proven true, this was the first time such a slaughter had occurred. Cloud responded to this with a fairly strong performance on Alucard, but this was seen as a disappointment considering that Alucard's flagship game, Symphony of the Night, was barely dancing around 1 million copies sold worldwide during the time. Mario had answered the call of Square, showed that he was the favorite, and the match between Mr. Video Game himself and GameFAQs' own architect was hyped to a fever pitch. Before their match though, the other side of the bracket was abuzz with upsets galore, especially on the contest's high seeds, serving as framework for the incoming brawl. That Crono guy disgraced East Division top seed Lara Croft in a humiliating beatdown. South Division top seed Pac-Man dueled with Scorpion, with Penny Arcade posting a comic in hopes to bring more Pac-Man voters in. The contest did gain more traction, Penny Arcade keeping a link up until the contest was over. But the pack was sent back, disappointingly easy by the Mortal Kombat frontrunner. You suck. Mario's high-seeded kin were down to 2, as the West Division's top dog, Sonic the Hedgehog, was set for a match with Samus Aran. Due to a 2-hour poll delay, the Speedy Hedgehog got off to a bit of a slow start, allowing the bounty hunter to stalk her target deathly close. In spite of not having a new game for 8 years, Samus was just barely behind the Blue Blur's pace, and it's with this match that the lid was blown off of the contest. Rallies scoured online chat rooms, other message boards, any gaming community that a voice could reach. Every time Sonic pulled away, Samus would turn on the speed booster and burn his lead to ashes, until eventually she gained a full arsenal of voters, unleashing a barrage on the last son of Sega. And with nearly 84,000 votes cast, with just a lead of 34 votes, Sonic had been slain.
The galaxy is at peace.
Outrage followed, drowning out the equally exciting Sephiroth and Mega Man duel going on in the background, and ensuring that anti-cheating measures would intensify. Security would need to tighten quickly, as rallying brought Sephi vs. Mega to nearly 100,000 total votes cast in 24 hours, with only 987 votes netting Miss Genova's baby boy the win. But this was no photo finish, so voters could relax and prepare for the main event to come. Finally, the stage was set. Mario was the final top seed left in an upset-laden bracket. Cloud was poised as an underdog to take down the king. The contest was drawing the most attention it ever had, and fellow Final Fantasy VII juggernaut Sephiroth had just put another one of Mario's NES-era friends down. Anti-Square sentiment brewed toward the death of the Blue Bomber, and in spite of his weak performances at the start, this was the king of Nintendo's match to lose. Would Mario take revenge by destroying Cloud and continuing a path of destruction? Or would Cloud slay the dragon and prove the power of the friends and fans he'd built around him? The seconds ticked by, and when the clock turned to 1 a.m. on August 26, 2002, Mario and Cloud finally went to war.
Let's go!
The opening minutes were decided quickly. Mario dealt the first blows, using his status as the contest favorite and the ill will held towards Sephiroth boiling over to establish an early lead. Yet after that first hour, in the dead of night, Cloud broke all the limits in front of him, receiving overwhelming support from the GameFAQs faithful. It started slow, but Cloud's fans gathered until the storm of reckoning was upon Mario. With each slash, Mario fought back less and less, Cloud taking the night for his own in a dedicated march forward. But Mario had an ace up his sleeve. You see, the kiddies, they love the Mario. Sure, he was losing in the dead hours of night, but if he could keep the distance close and hold on for the kiddies to wake up, he could ride that wave of Mario Mania to a swift lead. The hours rolled on, the sun rose, and Cloud, in the face of a wounded god, refused to bleed. In spite of Mario's best efforts, Cloud's ascent would not stop, the soldier fighting Mario to a standstill until the morning had passed. Cloud established a 1,000 vote barrier that Mario just couldn't seem to break, and successfully stalled out the Mushroom Kingdom's hero during his strongest time. Mario would need a miracle in order to overcome the darkness Cloud had wrapped him in. But after the darkest morning comes...
Super Mario Sunshine! Woohoo!
The first mainline game Mario had received in 6 years, the hyped Mario platforming debut on the GameCube, the follow-up to the legendary Super Mario 64, was released on the exact same day as this match. When daytime hit and copies of Sunshine got into the hands of players, where were they gonna go to discuss how to get through the game and figure everything out? The largest source of video game tips and tricks with a dedicated Mario Sunshine message board, perhaps. With a literal water jetpack strapped to him midway through the fight, Mario was back in the game, able to finally go toe-to-toe with blonde-haired Zack, instead of slowly bleeding out. But Mario couldn't just stall out Cloud, he had to gain ground. That's where Planet GameCube, one of the largest Nintendo-centric fan sites of the era, caught wind that Mario was losing. And you'd better believe they wouldn't let their hero down. A direct link to GameFAQs being posted on the front page of the site as a rallying cry to save an icon from a close defeat. And with that, finally, Strife bled. Super goddamn Mario led a star-powered charge forward, tearing away Cloud's lead bit by bit, until he finally found himself leaping past his adversary. But after coming so far, Cloud refused to roll over and die, beating back Mario's lead with his own cut, finding the strength to pull ahead in his most desperate hour. Though Cloud's attempts grew weaker, the midnight hour approached. Both sides had grown weary, and Mario found himself a mere few hundred votes shy, less than 0.1% away from victory. The icon had pulled out every stop, even a miracle or two, but time had weathered his impregnable aura, and a new generation had finally overcome him. But Mario always has an extra life. Out of nowhere, a massive surge of Mario support struck, and Mr. Nintendo rode his sudden tidal wave of votes to an almost 300-vote lead. On this day, no matter how strong Cloud was, forces seemed to conspire to give Mario just one more round. Cloud tried valiantly to push back, having found strength in evening pushes before, but there was no stopping Mario now. Every last-ditch effort Cloud threw out was met with a Bowser toss back to the status quo. Cloud and Mario battled to the last, until finally, 24 hours had passed. 129,703 votes were cast in one day. And with a mere 277 votes separating them, the man left standing was Mario.
Here we go!
This should not have happened. By all accounts, Cloud was the stronger character. He had a more dedicated and centralized fan base. He was the underdog to root for. He had every reason to ride this momentum to win the contest and define GameFAQs as the house that Square built. This wasn't an out-of-control rally like L Block. This was a nearly divine set of circumstances that kept one man alive. If Super Mario Sunshine didn't release that day, if Mario wasn't behind in spite of Mario Sunshine so that Planet GameCube would save him, if momentum had shifted a different way earlier in this contest, Cloud would have taken this. Heck, it's easy to say that Mario could have cheated. A user did claim that he had 500 proxy votes ready to stuff for Mario, though that could have just as easily been a bluff from a Cloud fan in an attempt to get Mario knocked down. And Mario's final push after a day of success looked more than a little dubious. But anything can happen when you pit two incredibly dedicated forces against each other. And after both active and retroactive checking, the results stood. On this day, Mario did not defy the odds. He destroyed them and made his own.
Thank you so much for playing my game.
Mario would go on to have a semi-final battle with Crono, who would almost upset the plumber himself before a user was caught stuffing votes for Crono, sparking a multi-year rivalry between the two that's more than worthy of its own video. In the finals, Mario would meet Link and get demolished due to his higher placement on the community's Nintendo pecking order, the plumber putting a worse showing on the Hylian champion than Sephiroth. Cloud would more than get his fair share of revenge, taking next year to humiliate Bowser, telling Sephiroth to do the same to Mario himself. And then the Soldier First Class would overcome even Link in a fantastic comeback story to win the 2003 character battle. Mario and Cloud would never meet in one-on-one action again until 16 years later, and in a match with much older, much weaker veterans with far less eyes on the duel, Cloud just barely got his win back in a tight, respectable duel, with nary a shine sprite or vote stuffer to hinder him. Now, I know I spent a very long time hyping up how two JPEGs had their numbers go up and down a whole lot for a day, but those JPEGs mean more than I can possibly articulate. There is a pure, raw emotion that comes from defending something that you truly love. And while getting too invested in that can be dangerous, the spectacle of it all is like nothing else. As this is being edited, the GameFAQs Game of the Decade contest should be wrapping up. And if you see a game you love still in the bracket, I implore you to go and give it a vote and see how far you can take it. Video games are a special kind of medium. You can't get much from them if you don't put in effort. Every Goomba stomped, every headshot taken, every pigeon seduced, every limit broken, that's something a player helped happen, and is a feeling worth treasuring and defending. A simple popularity contest became a duel between two titans of the industry, and the weight of that is so powerful. I think it's worth preserving at least, and hope to find something equal to it as the internet continues to evolve. Even if that weight comes from a Tetris block or a draggy crow. But for Mario and Cloud, in the long-forgotten year of 2002, both sides clashed and both sides designed for fandom.